Here.
Andy Franklin.
Here.
Carla Pennington Cross is here. Karen Cronwell is in an appointment that's running long and is excused, and Danielle Bailey is still at the Mayo Clinic and is excused. And hopefully Karen will be joining us soon, but I think we can go ahead with the work we have to do. Next item on the agenda is item 1C, agenda approval.
So moved.
Second.
Any opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. Hold on one second. Anthony is taking the gummy bears elsewhere. All right, item 2A, resolution of school board authorizing loan. Anna or Gus, would you like to address that?
This is in regards, this is the formal resolution now to allow the district to borrow up to $6 million through the state trust fund loans. Again, I think we talked about the other night, we will pass it. If we pass it, we will get it into the newspaper next week, and then the 30 days waiting period begins, and that we get in next week, that would end before the end of May, and we would be able to, because we anticipate we need to draw money by the middle of June. So that would give us ample time to do that. The one thing I just need to mention, Andy, is the fact that since this will occur now and you are the clerk, as of today yet, we will, and I think it's going to be safe. I don't think I can use electronic signature, whatever. We may need you to come in Monday and sign the forms for the action that we took today.
I should probably unmute it. I could do it today if, depending on how long Taylor's going to be around.
Okay.
I mean, when we're done, depends on how long, that's.
Okay. Yeah, we'll work it out. Yeah, that's fine. That'd be great if we could get it signed today.
Yeah, because Monday I'm not on the board anymore.
No, but we're dating everything as of today. I've talked to the people down in Madison, and we've worked out, explained the situation, and that's what they told me is that, everything is dated today, so you are the clerk, so you would still be.
Okay.
We'll work it out. Authorized to sign for those things.
All right, sounds great.
We can work that out when we get done.
Sounds great.
I don't have a whole lot more to say, and I don't know if you have anything more.
Ben or Andy, do you have any questions or comments?
I would just say I leave it in your capable hands. Gus, you and Todd have been doing amazing work, and I appreciate the fact that you guys have been able to do this. I think that this is the right path forward to be able to access it as needed. And you did a good job of explaining it at the last meeting. But that being said, there's no formal motion out there, so I would like to make a motion just to get it out there. And I would make a motion to approve the resolution of school board authorizing loan pursuant to the recommendation and language set forth in the attachment.
Second.
Okay, any additional comments, Ben? Any visiting people wish to speak or ask any questions? You could hit the raise your hand button if you wish to. And while we're waiting to see if anyone wants to do that, I just have one silly question. The form that we were given says, please complete the other side. Is there anything important on the other side other than the signature block?
The other side, we have to record the vote, and we have to record the members of the board. Those that were present, we have to record their vote, and anyone who's not present at the time we vote, we just record not present, excused.
Okay, all right. So we'll do
that's the backside. We just have to fill out the vote, okay. And it would be, yeah, we need to make sure it's a roll call vote.
Okay, good. Then I'm ready to vote. Let's do a roll call vote. Ben Wynn,
Aye.
Andy Franklin,
Aye.
and Carla Pennington Cross. I vote aye. Karn Cronwell is excused, and Danielle Bailey, the board president, is also excused.
Yep, so that's how we will fill out the back of the form.
Okay, that motion carries.
Terrific.
Yes, Andy?
No, it's a terrific.
On to item 2B, school perceptions survey. Andy and Ben, have you had a chance to look at the materials that were attached to the board agenda?
I had an opportunity. I had one question that didn't, well, I had a couple of questions. The first one is, because Karen had mentioned it, I still didn't see a question addressing the possible sale of the facilities at Good Hope. Did I miss that somewhere? Was that added?
Anna, would you, or Gus, would you like to address it, or would you like me to? Because I know what the reasoning is.
Sure. I mean, I do believe that the question was not placed on there because right now we're trying to get a read at what they would support as a referendum. And it looks like, based
Okay.
on the conversation that took place, as there may need to be, additional conversation, and community engagement around that to provide more context about how that would impact us, going forward.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate that. And then the other
And
issue, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Andy, could I add, I think what I thought of too, and what I don't remember if I chatted with Anna or Danielle, or I just don't remember sitting here. But what we talked about was that putting that question about Good Hope in the survey muddies the results. It might skew the results for what people answer. And because if you're looking at a property and saying, oh, a property could be sold, it might impact your response to a clean question of whether you would support a referendum or not. So
Because your answer might be based on the presumption that maybe we'll sell it. And so I understand that, Cloud,
But just
it might
statistically,
confuse the issue.
it impacts the data.
Listen, as long as there's some consideration that was given on that point in school perception and an opportunity to address it, I'm fine with that. My only other question and really goes to the amount that we're putting in, or I guess that's my question here is, I mean, are we deciding on, what amount we are going to fill in, to that referendum survey and the highlighted portions that were incomplete? So, we had the survey scenario models, and then if I recall, the survey did have, the yellow highlights in there. So I guess my question is, how are we addressing the question of what borrowing we're requesting?
Right. So to address that component of it, and welcome, I believe Karn is here. I just saw her join. Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome,
Hi.
Karen. I'm glad you could make it.
Yeah, so the projected ask that we have been given by Barrett is for 10 million, right? And so what we're looking at is as within the context of that survey, looking at spreading that out into those 2 years. So based on those highlighted areas of the survey, that's what would be used to fill those numbers in that space and to regenerate the graphing that's in there from school perceptions. Their recommendation was to go with that language because it is simplified and it helps people understand what the potential ask will be on that. So those were the recommendations in our meeting with school perceptions on putting that information into that section. So that's what we would be looking at in that area.
Okay.
So Andy, I think so what we would be voting on today is whether we would approve this survey to go out to ask the question of voters whether they would consider approving a 2-year referendum, $5 million per year.
Mhm.
Those other numbers, like the mill rate and all that,
Yeah,
they
right.
will finalize and calculate between today and Monday, right? Because that's all technical. But based on the forecasting models I've seen, like that's a very, very conservative ask. That number might adjust when we get to actual referendum by November. But my understanding from Gus and Anna and the team is that there's no conception of going above 10 million in 2 years. That would never happen. So we're asking the voters that top number,
Yes.
no
And-
surprises.
Yep, and everyone needs to understand, if the 10 million was acceptable to the community and ultimately went through a referendum, that after 2 years would give you a fund balance of 15%. So it's not only taking care of the operational expense, it's putting you in a fantastic financial, the district in a fantastic financial spot, because you would then have, 15% of, so you figure you're about, well, let's just round it up to $20 million. So you had 15% of that. So you're between 3,000 and 30, or 3,000,000 and 3,500 in a fund balance, which would be fantastic. A fantastic place for you to be. And then the district could continue on a yearly basis to keep working at building that. So that's what the 10 million, that's why we look and say, it's not going to be any higher than 10 million, because that 10 million is including 3.5 million for fund balance.
So that, it's basically, I mean, it's 3.5 million plus the 6 million loan.
About 3.5 million plus 6 million that we need to continue
Right.
to operate this. The $6 million loan gets us out of negative fund balance,
Right.
gets us to zero. Now we're looking and saying, what do we need to operate over a 2-year period? We need 6 million to operate. And then we get, at 10 million, we get then we get a built-in fund balance.
So my only follow-up to that is, and don't get me wrong, I mean, this is all fine, from my perspective. My only question then is, do we want to clarify that, the $10 million would be used to do both of these things, to, cover, and I also recognize that asking that question again may muddy the water, but, we're talking about addressing, the loan that we just approved today potentially, and we're talking about rebuilding the fund balance. Do we at least want to say, for example, $10 million, in whatever the period is, filling, populating the mill rate with the purpose of, I don't know, paying off the loan and also rebuilding the fund balance? And do we want to have that in there, in the survey?
My response would be no at this point. We want to
Okay.
see if they would support 10 million, because quite honestly, we're going to be, the board is going to have to be going back and taking a look. We'll have a much, we're almost finalizing 22, 23 by June. We'll have a very good idea of where we are at 23, 24. And bottom line is that number may become smaller. The question is, in a very worst case scenario, would they be willing to support that to keep the district in financial stability? I think there's room to talk about all the different scenarios of where you're going to end up when you pass the actual resolution for referendum.
Okay. No, thanks. I appreciate that. One last thing that I promised I would shut up. We have to understand what, what the mill rate is, but, there's going to be some kind of sticker shock to that. I mean, Nicolay, for example, had an $80 million, referendum that covered twice the turf. This would be $10 million, in 2 years. I mean, I am concerned about the sticker shock to the community, and, given the dollar amount, I mean, I understand things aren't perfect and we at least have to have a starting point. But, my suggestion for the future might be to consider ways of extending, that dollar amount over a longer period if we can. I'm not asking you to kind of reinvent the wheel or, to get into, all of the nitty gritty of, how we have to, make this financial determination. But my gut reaction is that while, the dollars make sense, the time period for, raising that money may be a hardship. And so I think we ask a question, we can't ask every question, but I am a little bit concerned about what people's knee-jerk reaction might be to that impact, given the fact that we're now in this Nicolay referendum too. And Fox Point has one, and everyone has one, and we're in a state of poor funding by the state. I recognize all that. You can't address everything. We need to get these numbers out there. I'm really talking about down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say, Andy, you're always welcome to come back
And
in the months ahead to join us in those discussions. We would
Yeah.
welcome you as an experienced community member, and Ben too, of course, because we're going to be having those discussions, right, in the months ahead.
yeah, and part of this whole issue was, as Anna and I were meeting with Baird and working on this, was, you see a number of scenarios there of how to ask the question. School perceptions felt it's easiest on the survey to get good in data if we broke it at 5 and 5. But I would tell you that when you're getting ready to discuss when you're getting ready to discuss the resolution to actually go to referendum, you may vary that if you know that you can get 10 million out of, if the people are going to support 10 million, but you may vary that, and then you'll start looking at that mill rate and the impact on the mill rate to try to make it easier for the taxpayer to support the referendum. You'll play with that mill rate a little. You may look and take one of these other scenarios that you see and say, maybe we're only going to borrow 3.5 the first year and 6, or we only need 3.5 the first year, 6.5 the second year. At that point, we'll have a much clearer vision of where we're at, and you will be much more conscious of the mill rate at that point in time than we are right now. Right now, we're just trying to get a good read on, is 10 million acceptable to people?
Gotcha. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yep.
Okay, Ben and Karn have your hands up. I don't know who went up first, so I'll call on Ben for first arriver.
Okay, I was just wondering, so you were saying that the 10 million should get us at 3.5 million fund balance at the end of what, 2026 or something?
Yes.
Is that assuming we take out all 6 million and interest, and that we're paying it over 10 years, or with 5 years, or 4 million, or what's the assumption there?
The loan payment is being factored in there at the full 6 million in all of the scenario projections, just to be conservative.
Okay,
To answer that question, yes.
but we still would have like long-term debt. So we would have a fund balance with debt, but we'd be paying that debt back. Or how are we calculating that?
If right now we're calculating it as if it were going to be 10 years, 10-year payback on the full 6 million, as we're calculating and seeing the impact on all of this.
Okay.
Because that's the most conservative scenario there, because you're going to have to pay it back, and because this has to come out of revenue control, you got to make sure you have enough revenue control to pay the debt, so you suddenly aren't having to cut programs, because now you have this loan that you have to pay out, and then you haven't gained anything if we don't factor that in. What happens is, if the taxpayers would ultimately approve $10 million, and you now have a $3.5 million fund balance, you have a lot more flexibility in paying off that loan a lot faster.
Right.
And get it paid off earlier, and
well, that'd be about half of what's left.
Yeah,
pretty
I
much,
mean,
right?
Yeah.
If I'm doing my mental math
Yeah.
correctly right now. Okay.
Yeah, you wouldn't use all of this fund balance that you suddenly
Right.
gained from the referendum to pay it off, but you could.
It would be about half of what we
Yep.
still owe, which
Yep.
is ideal. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, Karn,
Okay, so I just want to clarify. I mean, I appreciate, and I think all understanding the details is really key, but the questions that we need to vote on tonight are specifically, do we approve that $6 million ask? And also, do we approve the school perception survey in its current format? Is that correct?
right, so Karn, we've already voted on the $6 million loan.
That's great. Sorry, I was late. And so
Yeah, so
then
now-
really at this point, I feel like the question is, guys, is the survey appropriate? Because whatever we change afterwards, this is just going to let us know, does the community support us or not?
Right, so that's why we're letting Gus and Anna answer questions. And if anyone is prepared, someone could make a motion about the survey specifically, not about budgeting. Does anybody wish to make a motion? To adopt the survey?
I would move that we adopt the survey.
With the $10 million, two-year, $5 million ask as the question, right?
Correct.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion?
Just to stress, the dollar amounts, I understand, the time frame. I mean, there's gonna be some sticker shock if I did my math correctly. So I'm not thrilled on the ask to leave it over 2 years, but I think we need to start some more with asking questions. So this will at least give us some baseline.
Right, this is going to tell us how the community feels about that idea.
Yeah.
Any visitor comments or questions? Karin, is your hand up freshly?
No, I'm driving, so
Got
I'm just
it.
kind of
We'll
accessing
just-
things as I can.
You'll just keep your hand up. It's good. I'll just keep calling on you. All right, then it sounds like we are ready for a vote. Motion that's pending is to approve the school perception survey in its current form with the addition of the $5 million for each of 2 years ask. And the understanding that our business team will add all those technical numbers between now and Monday. Right? Did I state that right? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
I
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Woo! We got that perception survey going now. All right. Third and final item on the agenda, the license review referral. Is there a motion with respect to that agenda item?
Well, I might as
I
well make a
move
motion.
that we vote in, yeah, I move that we approve the submission of the license review.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We already had our discussion in closed session on Wednesday. Does anyone wish to make any further comments here?
I suppose the only thing I would add is that I have spoken with the DPI about what needs to be done and who would be sent to, and I can execute that on the board's behalf before my term is over.
Thank you, Andy. All right, if we're ready to vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And the last item on our agenda, item 3A. Adjournment. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I move to adjourn.
I will second that. Any opposed? All in favor?
I
Aye.
Aye. This
Uh,
meeting is adjourned. Thank
okay.
you, everyone.
oh, Taylor,
I'm here.
can we get Andy in tonight? Can we stay
Yeah.
long enough to get him in?
Yeah.
Andy, why don't you come right away?
Yeah, I am. I have to make sure that I'm not needed on one other thing, but I can be there in about 10 minutes.